Look at this story. Felipe used to go out every night to the club. That day he was very excited when he starts to hear a baby crying. He believes he is having delusions, but he looks around and sees nothing. He continues walking in the middle of a forest when he sees a baby on the ground crying a lot. When he approaches, he sees that it really isn't his delusions, it's a baby that is abandoned there. He then bends down and picks up the baby and decides to take her home. At home, Felipe looks at her baby and says, "How beautiful you are. You look like a princess. I don't know how your parents had the courage to do this to you." He then looks at the girl and says, "I need to give you a name." He says, "I already know your name is going to be Helena." Felipe keeps talking. "Helena means shiny, and you're going to be the child that's going to bring a lot of light into my life. Now I'm going to give you a bath, Helena, so that you can be clean and smelling good." Felipe gives Helena a bath, but after the bath he realizes that the child is very hot. Felipe says, "How are you hot, Helena? I need to take you to a hospital right now, but I can't dress like that with this wig. I need to wash myself first." He puts the baby to bed and goes to dress and wash himself. Felipe is very concerned about Helena's well-being, and if he imagines what the child has, he takes it and puts it on the bed and runs to wash in the bathroom to run to the hospital. Felipe arrives in the bathroom and cleans his face, which is full of makeup, takes off his wig and changes clothes as quickly as possible so he can take little Helena to the hospital. As soon as he finishes cleaning himself, he runs to the hospital with the little one, but he goes to a private hospital that is less bureaucratic to attend to the baby. He arrives at the hospital. "I installed him waiting." Dr. Gabriela, who is the doctor responsible for caring for the baby, goes to him and asks what's going on. Felipe, very nervous, looks at the doctor and says, "So doctor, I don't know exactly what's going on. I gave her a bath and soon after I realized that she had a high fever, and since she's very small, I don't know what to do or if I can give her medication." The doctor to pick up the child. Felipe hands Helena into Gabriela's arms. The doctor soon after. Dr. Gabriela says, "I'm going to examine her and see what's going on, but I'm going to order some tests to be sure of what could be medications to lower her fever while the test results come out. Soon after I come here to talk to you." Gabriela takes Helena and goes into the office to examine Felipe. He's there very nervous waiting for answers. Felipe, already tired and so anxious, not knowing what is happening to his little one, stays there. Some time later the doctor returns. Felipe says, "Please doctor, say there's good news." The doctor says, "So I did all the tests I needed to be sure, and the results were the same. She has a very strong infection. She is taking medication now to lower her fever. However, she will need some very strong antibiotics and they are not very cheap, because this infection needs medication to control it, otherwise it could spread throughout the entire body. I don't know if you are able to pay for the treatment. You will want to take her to a public network to have this treatment. But if you are able and want to pay, I will start this treatment immediately so that your daughter is fine in a maximum of 5 days and I can go home." Felipe says, "Doctor, I'm going to find a way. You can start with the medications. I'll pay for this treatment for my daughter. No matter the price, what matters is my little one's well-being." The doctor says, "The total value of the medications for the treatment included in the hospitalization, all of them exceed 3,000 Brazilian reals, Mr. Felipe. You really want me to start this treatment, because after starting the irreversible treatment, there's no going back." Felipe says, "Doctor, you can start the treatment and you can bring the papers that I'm going to sign. I'm going to work to earn that money. What matters to me is my little one's health." The doctor then says, "So, Mr. Felipe, Helena, she will need to be hospitalized for a few days so that we can administer the medication here. as there are the correct times to administer these medications, and here she will be monitored 24 hours a day. Order the antibiotics, and as soon as they arrive, I will start with the treatment." Felipe says, "Okay, then doctor, I need to go to work to earn this money, and you can call me anything." Doctor says, "Don't worry, Felipe, little Helena is well taken care of here." Felipe takes, so what if he goes to work to get the money to pay for all of Helena's treatment? Felipe goes to his work. He works harder than every day to get the money he needs to pay for Helena's treatment. Always after work, Felipe goes to see his daughter, looking forward to the little girl's return home. Over the 5 days, Felipe pays for all of her treatment and goes to the hospital to see how she is doing. Upon arriving there, the doctor, Dr. Gabriela, brings Helena in her arms. She picks up the baby and delivers it to Felipe's lap. Felipe says, "How is she, doctor?" Gabriela says, "She reacted very well to the treatment, she's doing very well, the infection has stopped, but we have to keep an eye on her in the next few days, because she will have to be extra careful so that this infection doesn't come back. Now you're going to continue giving her the antibiotics that I'm going to pass on to you, because the virus is still circulating in her blood, but without apparent danger. All the tests we did before she was discharged are fine, but as a precaution it's better to keep an eye out, and if anything happens, you'll come back here with her." Felipe says, "Thank you so much, doctor, for taking good care of my little one. I know you took very good care of her here. Now you can let me take good care of her." Say goodbye to the doctor and you go home. 15 years later. The day of Helena's long-awaited 15th birthday has arrived. Felipe, as always, was a very present father, very affectionate and attentive to his daughter. He prepares a surprise for her. He arrives in the kitchen singing congratulations and with a 60th birthday present next to Helena and says, "Today is your day, my daughter, your 15th birthday has finally arrived." Helena says, "Thank you so much, Dad, for always remembering my birthday." Felipe says, "I will always remember, Helena, because the day you arrived in my life everything changed. From then on everything started to be much happier, everything started to make sense in my life. It was the happiest day I had until today, was when you were born." Helena says, "Thank you so much, Dad, I'm very lucky to have you." At that moment, someone knocks on the door. Felipe asks Helena if she invited someone to her house. Helena says, "No." Moment, Felipe gets up and goes to the door to see who's there. He opens the door. He comes face to face with a policeman. He says, "Why not, officer? What can I help you with?" Police officer says, "I have a warrant from the search and collection judge to take a child who is here with you because you are not authorized to keep her." Felipe says, "But what do you mean, officer? She's my daughter. She's been my daughter for 15 years, and I've taken care of her." The policeman says, "Well, unfortunately justice fails, sir. But today I came here to do my job and what the judge determined, and I need to take the girl." Felipe is very upset and says, "What do you mean if I don't hand her over? Will you use force on me? Without the warrant, you are not authorized to enter my house." At that moment, listening to the discussion, Helena approaches and says to her father, "Dad, what's going on here?" Felipe says, "This policeman came here, says he has a warrant from the judge to take you away from me, and I don't know what to do now, daughter." The policeman says, "I'm just here to do my job, sir. The judge orders, and I obey. I ask for your understanding and ask that the girl come with me so that I can do my job." Helena, still not understanding, talks to her father. "What is this story, father? What do you mean, I'm not your daughter? Will I have to go with him?" Felipe says, Because it's a daughter, I never told you, but one day I was coming from the club very early in the morning and I found you abandoned crying a lot. That day I took you and I felt as if you were mine, only my daughter. I took care of you with all the love and care, but my only mistake was not going after the court to see if you could find your parents and to follow up with the adoption papers. I didn't even remember that detail, because you got very sick and I had to take care of you, but regardless of what a judge says, you are my daughter and it will always be me. Just know, I know why. After 15 years, this policeman appears to me out of nowhere. I don't want to lose you, daughter. Felipe looks at the police officer and says, you can't take my daughter away from me, officer. Helena says, well, father, you never told me this story. You never told me that I had been found in a forest. But regardless of what a judge says, just like you said, father, you will always be my father. It doesn't matter to me if you're a blood father or not. You adopted me, you raised me, and took care of me very well. You will always be my father. And I don't want to go with that dad cop. The very upset policeman, with his hand on his gun, takes it and says, don't force me to use force with you. I need to do my job or she'll go to the shelter and you'll go to jail, sir. Helena is very nervous, saying that she doesn't want to go with the police. The policeman is already out of patience and with his hand on the gun. Felipe says, calm down, officer, you don't need to use force with my daughter. Let me talk to her now. Felipe says, daughter, do you trust me? So let's obey the court order. You go with that policeman and I'll do everything to get you back. Now as the law says, you're going to be my daughter and then no one else is going to take you from me. Go with him and I'll be right behind you at the police station. Daughter, you can rest assured that I'm not going to leave you in any shelter. I'm going to call my lawyer right now. Even though Helena doesn't want to go, the policeman picks her up and takes her away. Felipe runs to change his clothes and get ready. He's there very sad and talking to himself. Because this had to happen to me. I took such good care of my little Stitch. I did everything for her. So today, the judge sends a policeman here to take my daughter away from me. I need to find a way to get her back. In which city are you watching this story right now? Helena going with a policeman, suspecting that something is wrong there because he is not wearing official police clothes. She says to him, didn't you say you were a policeman? Man says, be quiet, girl, and let's go. Helena says, you're not a cop, you liar. The man says, I don't know what you're complaining about, that man or your father. You should thank me for getting you out of there. He's a bad example. Helena says, he is my father. Yes, he raised me and took care of me until today. The man then says, I don't want to know about your life, girl. I'm going to take you somewhere and I'm going to have fun with you, that's all. Moment Helena decides to do something because she realizes that he really is not a police officer. She then takes it and realizes that he is distracted and pushes one and runs away. She runs to her house and quickly enters. Felipe, without understanding anything, runs to the room and says, what happened to your daughter? Helena says, Dad, that man wasn't even a real police officer. He just wanted to take advantage of me. He said he was going to take me somewhere to have fun. Felipe takes Helena and runs to the police station. He arrives very nervous at the police station. He immediately tells the police officer, who is there in attendance, good afternoon, police officer. I want to file a complaint against a fake police officer. He arrived at my house and took my daughter, saying that the judge ordered him to take her, but in fact he just wanted to take advantage of her. You need to find this monster. The policewoman says, Sir, I need you to calm down and tell me this story from the beginning because I need to know the details so that I can arrest this man. Felipe says, Look at the police lady. This here is Helena, my daughter. She is 15 years old. Exactly 15 years ago, I found her in a forest, crying a lot and abandoned. At that moment I didn't remember that I would have to go after the justice adoption, these things. I just took Helena and took her to my house and I took care of her as if she were my daughter. I did everything that was rightfully hers. I enrolled her in the schools. She got sick. I had a medical treatment. Everything a real father does I did for Helena, and I never bothered to go to the justice and get her guard her. Policeman says, Good sir, how have you been with her for 15 years? Felipe says, "Yes, I do, police officer. I have enrollment statements from the school she went to. I have many photos of her when she was a baby with me, and I also have witnesses." The policewoman says, "Good sir. Because of this I need to talk to this doctor. Can you take me there so that I can check with her if the story and see if she gets it in your favor later?" Felipe says, "Yes, police officer, I can take you to the doctor's office. I just want you to do everything possible to find this monster who tried to take advantage of my daughter by posing as a police officer, because if he did it with my daughter, imagine how many other children he must be trying to do it with." The policeman says, "Don't worry, sir, let's go to the doctor's office and talk to her, and as soon as I've set up the accusation, I'll go after that man." They go to Dr. Gabriella's office. Upon arriving there, Felipe knocks on the door. Soon Gabriella leaves. The policeman immediately says, "Hello, Dr. Gabriella. Pleased to meet you, doctor. My name is Amanda and I'm a delegate. I came here with Mr. Felipe because he said that you can be a witness in his case. I would like to know if you can go as a witness on behalf of Mr. Felipe?" Police officer, then he asks the doctor to accompany him to the police station to formalize the complaint against the man and the witness in favor of Felipe. The policewoman then finishes Dr. Gabriel's statement and tells Helena, "I need to know the characteristics of the man who went there and posed as a policeman because now we need to find him. Even where he took you, I need to know so I can get closer to finding him. The more information you give me, the easier it will be to find him." Helena then begins to describe the man with all the details she remembers, and says, "He took me to a place where he said he would have fun with me there. Police officer, I don't know exactly the address, but I can take you there." The policewoman says, "Even better if you manage to accompany me there, because that way you will recognize him at the time and I can arrest him at the exact moment so as not to run the risk of him running away again." They then go to the place where Helena remembered that the man had taken her. Arriving there, the police arrest the man in the act. The man is then arrested so that he doesn't run the risk of trying to do this to any other girl. A while later, Felipe had already filed a request for Helena's custody. The delegate then goes to their house to report that the suspect has been convicted